Welcome to Melrose Unitarian Universalist Church. Our service today is called My Soul Went on a Pilgrimage. Good morning, everybody. My name is the Reverend Dr. Suzanne Intrillagator, and I am proud to be the minister of this congregation and proud to be back in the saddle today. Thank you. Thank you. After a wonderful, truly restful, and very eventful 3-month sabbatical, it is good to be home, to be with family. We are a church of open minds, loving hearts, and helping hands. All who share our values are welcome here with us, and I am glad that each of you is here with us today. Just a few brief announcements. Thank you to our fellowship committee for a wonderful welcome back dinner that they had on Thursday night. Even though it was yucky out, more than 50 people came, and it was a lovely evening, and I felt truly welcomed. So thank you to them. Congratulations and thank you to our City Reach team of 7 youths and 2 adult advisors who spent almost the whole weekend, this weekend, in downtown Boston. On Friday night, with so many donations from you, they went all the way into town, and along with youth from several other suburban churches, they sorted and folded and prepared all the stuff, and then they went out walking the streets, and they met and talked with people who are currently or formerly unhoused. Then, back in the church, they slept on the hard floor, and all day Saturday, they helped clients there find new socks and warm clothes and tote bags and lunches, too. It was a fantastic weekend of learning and service that these young people will not forget. So a special thank you to their adult helpers. Wendy is here today, thank you. And Jennifer and Chuck, thank you. Now, let us welcome one another into worship with our weekly practice of welcome. Say hello to the person behind you, the person in front of you, the person on either side. And let's wave and say hello to our church friends far and near. And let's remember, this is also the weekend of the men's retreat, so we're missing a bunch of men too. Let's wave to them in our minds. Hello, men. And thank you to our helpers. Our coffee hour helpers and hosts today are Wendy and Barbara. Our usher is Michael O'Connor, and our greeter is Nancy Nichols. Thanks. We couldn't do it without you. And so, I call us to worship this morning with the first half of a poem called Santiago by the contemporary scholar and poet David White. It's about his experience walking the Camino de Santiago in Spain. We'll hear the second half of the poem later in the service. The road, seen, then not seen. The hillside hiding, then revealing the way you should take, the road dropping away from you, as if leaving you to walk on thin air, then catching you, holding you up when you thought you would fall. And the way forward, always, in the end, the way that you followed, the way that you came, the way that carried you into your future, that brought you to this place. No matter that it sometimes took your promise from you, no matter that it always had to break your heart along the way. The sense of having walked from far inside yourself out into revelation, to have risked yourself for something that seemed to stand both inside you and far beyond you, and that called you back in the end to the only road you could follow, walking as you did in your rags of love. And now we light the symbol of our faith, the flaming chalice. Here to light ours this morning is the wonderful Mary Beth Griscom, volunteer extraordinaire, and she will lead us in our covenant. Thank you, Mary Beth.
Good morning. I invite you now to rise in body or in spirit and join me in the words of our covenant, which you will see on the screen. Love is a doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. This is our great covenant, one with another and with our God. Please remain standing to join us in our opening hymn, which is...
Thank you. Our opening hymn is special today. The words are from the hymnal, Sing Out Praises for the Journey, but our snazzy, wonderful music director has written a new tune for them, which we think makes it more singable and more fun. Jenny will lead us. Thank you to Tom. Thank you to Jenny.
Well, since it's new, I'll play it once through in its entirety. If there are any of you who would like to read music, there's a single sheet in the middle of each pew, and feel free to earn it.
Sing out praises for your journey, pilgrims we who carry on, searchers in the soul's deep yearnings, like our forebears in their time. We seek out the Spirit's wholeness in the endless human quest. Look inside your souls, the kindling of the hearth fire pilgrims new. Tend the Spirit, always restless, find it in each mind and heart. Touch and hold that ancient yearning, kindling for a newfound truth. Stand we now upon the threshold, facing futures yet unknown. Earth behind us, wayside hostel, built by those who knew wild roads. Guard we ere their sacred embers, carried in our minds and hearts.
Thank you so much. Please be seated. Thank you, Jenny. For our children's story today, I wanted a book about our specific theme of pilgrimage, but I couldn't find a good one. There wasn't a children's book on pilgrimage. But then I listened to some folks around here, and I heard your rave reviews about last week's service, and inspiration struck. I decided to go with something a bit more familiar and more fun about the broader theme of life's whole grand and very mixed journey. And it turns out this story has a lot of resonance and relevance for my sabbatical story, which we will get to in the sermon today. So, our story for all ages today is Oh, the Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. I've had to shorten it a little bit, and I invite the children or anyone young at heart to come forward and sit with me and join me here if you want, and we can look at the book together. And I hope that this will follow along. I can't see it. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's see. If I come down here. Can you guys see up there too? Good. Congratulations. Today is your day. You're off to great places. You're off and away. You'll be on your way up. You'll be seeing great sights. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights. You won't lag behind because you'll have the speed. You'll pass the whole gang and you'll soon take the lead. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. I'm sorry to say so, but sadly it's true that bang-ups and hang-ups will happen to you. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your whole gang will fly on. You'll be left in a lurch. Do you see him here? His balloon got caught on a stick, and everybody left him, went on without him. You'll come down from the lurch with an unpleasant bump, and the chances are then that you'll be in a slump. And when you're in a slump, you're not in for much fun. Unslumping yourself is not easily done. You can get so confused that you'll start into race down long, wiggled roads at a breaknecking pace and grind on for miles across weirdish wild space, headed, I fear, toward a most useless place, the waiting place. For people just waiting. Waiting for a train to go, or a bus to come, or a plane to go, or the mail to come, or the rain to go, or the phone to ring, or the snow to snow, or waiting around for a yes or a no, or waiting for their hair to grow. Everyone is just waiting. Waiting for the fish to bite, or waiting for the wind to fly a kite, or waiting around for Friday night, or waiting perhaps for their Uncle Jake, or a pot to boil, or a better break, or a string of pearls, or a pair of pants, or a wig with curls, or another chance. Everyone is just waiting. Looks kind of boring, doesn't it? No, that's not for you. Somehow you'll escape all that waiting and staying. You'll find the bright places where boom bands are playing. That looks a lot more fun. With banner flip-flapping, once more you'll ride high, ready for anything under the sky. Ready because you're that kind of guy. Or gal. Oh, the places you'll go, there is fun to be done. There are points to be scored, there are games to be won, and magical things you can do with that ball will make you the winningest winner of all. Fame. You'll be famous as famous can be, with the whole wide world watching you on TV. Except when they don't, because sometimes they won't. I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you'll play against you. All alone. Whether you like it or not, alone will be something. You'll be quite a lot. And when you're alone, there's a very good chance you'll meet things that scare you right out of your pants. There are some down the road between hither and yon that can scare you so much you won't want to go on. But on and on you will hike, and I know you'll hike far and face up to your problems, whatever they are. You'll get mixed up, of course, as you already know. You'll get mixed up with many strange birds as you go. So be sure when you step with care and great tact, and remember that life's a great balancing act. Just never forget to be dexterous and deft, and never mix up your right foot with your left. And will you succeed? Yes, you will, indeed. 98.75% guaranteed. Kid, you will move mountains. And this is a kid actually moving a mountain, which is crazy. So, be your name Buxbaum or Bixby or Bray or Mordecai, Ali, Von Allen, O'Shea. You're off to great places. Today is your day. Your mountain is waiting. So get on your way. Thank you for your very good listening. And now it's time to go down to your RE session if you like. It's waiting, so get on your way. Thank you. See you later. Every Sunday in the middle of our worship service, we create together a time of quiet, a moment for prayer and meditation, a chance to reconnect with our inner selves, our highest ideals, our sense of the holy, however it is that we each conceive of it. Let's begin this time by closing our eyes if we want and breathing deeply. Feel your feet on the floor. Wiggle your toes. Feel your body relaxing and sinking into your seat. And breathe. In our meditation cycle, first we'll join together in our centering song. Then we sit for a few minutes of shared quiet. Then we speak to one another of our joys and sorrows. And then I will lead a prayer. Our centering song for the month of April on the theme of interdependence is number 175 in the gray hymnal, We Celebrate the Web of Life, verses 1 and 2. The lyrics will show on the screen, so you can remain seated and relaxed and let the song guide you gently into our time of shared meditation. It's our tradition here in worship to share with one another the milestones of our lives, our personal joys and sorrows. We share with care in the hope that this practice binds us together in love, in strength, in community. If you have a sorrow to share, please, folks at home, type it into the chat box and I will read them aloud after anyone who is in the sanctuary has shared. No other joys in our Zoom room? Okay. Let's take a moment to hold and honor all these joys which help us connect and remind us of the beauty of living. Let's light one more candle to shine out our thanks for all the many blessings in our lives. Thank you, Michael. Please join me as you feel comfortable in the spirit of prayer. On this, the great journey of our lives, we pause now for a moment. On the long, dusty, twisty, confusing road we each walk alone, we sometimes, if we are lucky, happen upon a place like this one, a safe place to rest. From our journeys, we stop here in the shade of our sanctuary. We set down our bags. We rest our sore and tired bodies. We seek out refreshment for the soul. May we find here comfort and nourishment for the journey yet to come. On this eclipse weekend, may all here be reminded yet again of the play of light in our world, especially that bright light within each of us, the unique glow that we alone can shine out. Though it may dim at times, though it may now and then get covered up or blocked out, let us remember and remind one another that any block is always momentary, ephemeral, passing away. As in an eclipse, the light returns, your light remains, whole and wholly needed. Amen and amen.
Now is the time for our offertory. Our church is a self-supporting organization funded by your generous annual pledge. You may also contribute to our weekly collection plate, which we split every month with a deserving cause. Folks on Zoom can donate either way using the orange button at the top right corner of our homepage at melroseuu.org. The Giving Beyond Our Walls recipient for April is HEAT, spelled H-E-E-T. This Boston nonprofit has a mission to cut carbon emissions now by driving systems change, especially around natural gas. Its website is heet.org. And today we have Jenny Wengrovius here to sing our anthem, which is I Am Light by India Arya.
I will be asking for participation at the end, but hopefully you all know it, so. I am light, I am light. 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 And I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dreams I left behind. I am light. 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 And I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. Oh, it's all light. Yeah, it's all light. Oh, I am light. I am light. Oh, I am light. I am light. And I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light. I am light. All right, let's sing together the chorus. I am light.
Thank you, Jenny. Before I came back, Jenny didn't know what I was going to preach about, and she chose that song because she knows how much I love it. It was a little gift to me. Thank you. So I have not stood up here since Christmas Eve. The last time I was here, baby Jesus was there. And there was a starry night behind me. And it seems like a long time ago and just yesterday, both at the same time. Oh, I forgot. I had a reading plan before I went into my sermon. It's the second half of that poem I started. Let me do that first. This is another excerpt from Santiago by David White. And the way forward was always, in the end, the way that you followed, the way that you came, the way that carried you into your future, that brought you to this place. So that one day you realized that what you wanted had already happened, and long ago, and in the dwelling place in which you lived before you began, and that every step along the way you had carried the heart and the mind and the promise that first set you off and then drew you on, and that you were more marvelous in your simple wish to find a way than the gilded roofs of any destination you could reach, as if all along you had thought the end point might be a city with golden towers and cheering crowds, and turning the corner at what you thought was the end of the road, you found just a simple reflection, a clear revelation beneath the face looking back and beneath it. Another invitation, all in one glimpse, like a person or a place you had sought forever, like a broad field of freedom that beckoned you beyond, like another life, and the road still stretching on. So yeah, back to Christmas Eve, the last time I stood here. I remember that all fall, I was worried about how the church would do while I was gone. I didn't want too much work to fall on any one person or team, so I spent my spare time planning carefully, helping to hire the sabbatical minister, charting out the Sunday schedule, coaching the teams, etc., etc. And as a result, I didn't take much time to actually plan out the other half of the sabbatical, what I actually wanted to do with that precious gift of time. I was too busy running on my hamster wheel. By Christmas, the only thing that I had actually booked was a trip with my son Quinn over the holiday break. As many of you know, my family and I lived for 13 years in Wales in the UK, and Quinn was born there, and he left at age 10 and had never been back since. Now he's 18, and his childhood memories were getting a bit murky and confusing to him. He had questions. So we went on a quest, kind of a pilgrimage, actually, to answer them. It was on that trip to the UK in Edinburgh when I had a little revelation of my own. I had been walking up and down hills for days at that point, and I realized my knees don't hurt. And in fact, they were better than they had been in 20 years. And it occurred to me, wow, maybe someday I could actually walk the Camino de Santiago in Spain. But when? And a moment later I thought, well, I'd need 4 to 6 weeks off work, and it has to be during a time of the year when it's not too hot to walk all day long, and oh gosh, maybe the chance is now. Maybe it's my only chance is now during this sabbatical. So as soon as we got home, I went all the way deep into a month-long phase of research and training. I started walking every day, first 3 miles, then 5, then 7, sometimes in cold and snow. I got 8 library books on the Camino, subscribed to 3 blogs, watched maybe 100 online videos. I downloaded the paid version of Duolingo to learn as much Spanish as I could. Yeah, hamster wheel again. I bought all the right gear very carefully, and then I got to a point where I decided I think I knew just about everything there was to know about the Camino. There was nothing left to do but actually get on the plane. So now, at this point in my sermon, you might be asking yourself, why, Reverend Suzanne? Why the Camino? Isn't that a 500-mile-long Christian pilgrimage across Catholic Spain? Reverend Suzanne, are you secretly a devout Catholic? No, I am not. But I am kind of an aspiring pilgrim. I'm fascinated by religious journeys of all kinds, and the Camino specifically. It's been a major route for more than 1,100 years, and especially popular in the last 20 years and rising. It's developed this robust and charming infrastructure that makes it perfect for beginning walkers like me. According to all the bloggers and the authors that I read, on the Camino you can and should start slow, go at your own pace, and build up your stamina. For example, an average daily stage of the walk might be 25 kilometers or 15 miles. But you can break that up. You get up and out by 8 a.m., walk 3 miles, and then stop for breakfast. Then you walk 5 or 6 more and stop for a midday meal, dry off, rub your feet, use the bathroom, etc. Then it's just 6 more miles before you check into your albergue at night. Albergue is the Spanish word for the no-frills bunk rooms that pilgrims get to use for cheap rates along the way. Usually it's 10 to 20 old metal bunk beds in a big co-ed room for 15 to 20 euros a night. You bring your own sleeping bag and towel, and you wash your clothes in the sink. I said no frills. Most people will have to go this way, this no-frills way, because the trip can be 30 to 40 days long, so that gets expensive. The albergue system is efficient and friendly. It's a good spiritual and personal challenge, and I'm a big fan, so I was all in. Of course, these days there are other options for your Camino. You can go to a bed and breakfast or a little family-run country house in most of the villages. Plus, there are buses or taxis or little services that will transport your backpack to the next town if you're not up to lugging it on a day. There are all kinds of homemade little services like this on the Camino. In fact, it supports a booming little cottage industry that is, in fact, keeping rural Spain going these days. As a social phenomenon, it's also fascinating to me. At a time when Christianity and Catholicism especially are losing people by the millions, when so many are disaffected by organized religion, why are people, especially younger people, flocking to this old school, no-frills experience? And I mean wicked old school. Last year, 2023, there were 446,000 pilgrims on the Camino, rising every year. What is the hunger that is driving them? I wanted to go and see for myself, to have a month-long adventure. To me, it felt like the perfect opportunity to accomplish my 3 as yet unspoken sabbatical goals: to learn about myself and grow in confidence and competence, to reconnect with nature and my body and get healthier, and to visit holy places and deepen my spiritual practices. I could do all that on the Camino. I landed in Madrid on February 15th. It took me 2 more days to get to the little town of Saint-Jean-Pied-de-Port, the tiny medieval French town on the other side of the Pyrenees, which is the traditional start of the Camino Frances, the most popular route. From there, I started walking toward Spain. The first day of that route is possibly the hardest one. It goes straight up a mountain, but the views are worth it, except in wintertime, when that path is closed. The alternative path stays down in the valley, sometimes along a major highway. There is no sidewalk and no shoulder on this highway, so you are walking in the road, on the white line, with cars and trucks going 50 just inches past you. It is hair-raising. And then, on the last third of the way that day, you climb straight up, even steeper than the summer path. Did I mention that the Pyrenees are mountains? Did you know that? Somehow I didn't quite realize that Massachusetts does not at all prepare you for mountains. You use a whole different set of muscles when you're walking up mountains that I apparently had never used those muscles before. That night I stayed in an albergue set inside a 12th century monastery on the top of a mountain. It was spectacular, thrilling, everything I had hoped. And there were 20 other walkers there in the room with me, from Korea and Italy, Ireland and Germany. But slowly I noticed that almost all of them looked much younger and much fitter than me. Only 2 other people had gray hair, and they happened to sit with me at the pilgrims' dinner that night. It turned out that they both had done this specific Camino before, and many other long hikes like it. They were actually experts. The 3 of us discussed the route for the next day. We would need to cover 15 miles to the next albergue. They were fine with it. I found out then that in February, all the cafes and the little villages were closed for the season, as were the alternative B&Bs midway and the luggage services. Since it was also a Sunday, even the grocery store was shut, and we were unsure if there were even taxis running at all. So, there would be no stopping on the way to rest, no bathrooms, no alternative place to stay, no rescuing us if we got hurt. There was actually no way at all in February to start slow and go at my own pace. It came down to this: make it 15 miles or sleep outside. And I didn't pack a tent. I had a sleeping bag, but not a tent. On top of that, I looked in my guidebook, and the map of the day's route was marked with red exclamation marks at the end to show that the last mile or so was down a very, very steep mountainside. And I realized, as the slowest walker in the crowd, that if I got to that point, I would definitely be alone, and it would probably be dark, and I would be clambering down the side of a cliff. Can I do this? Should I do this? That night in my old metal bunk bed, listening to 20 people sleep around me in the same room, I lie there thinking, at midnight, at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m., I am so out of my element. This walk is not for beginners. Not in February, it isn't. The tears just rolled down my face. What should I do? Should I just go for it, push ahead, see what happens? I thought about my kids, my health insurance, my congregation. How exactly would I manage hospitalization in a country where I don't really speak the language? But could I not go? Could I just quit? I had told every person in my life that I was going to do this big, amazing thing. I had spent all this time and all this money. How could I back out now? What would people say? The tears kept going. I could not decide. Wherever you fly, you'll be the best of the best, says Dr. Seuss. Wherever you go, you will top all the rest. Except when you don't, because sometimes you won't. You can get all hung up in a prickly perch, and your gang will fly on, and you'll be left in a lurch. The next morning, after all the other walkers had left the albergue, I got a list of local cab companies, and between Google Translate and WhatsApp, I managed to hire a ride to the next city on the path, Pamplona. I called my husband, James. He told me to just rest and think. And I also called Paula, an old friend from Wales who was moving down to France, who I had planned to meet up with in the area after the Camino. I told her my dilemma, how I'd messed up my planning, coming in the wrong month for a beginner, how I felt like a total failure. She could hear the shame in my voice. You know, she said, weirdly enough, there's this book I've been reading called Positive Intelligence. Do you mind if I tell you about it? The main thesis is this. In childhood, as a survival mechanism, most of us develop a harsh internal voice. Let's call it the judge. And this judge continually critiques us in our heads and everything we do and everyone around us. And the more we listen to the judge, the more power we give it, the more anxiety and depression and sadness and anger it causes us. But here's the good news. You can disarm it. The book teaches very simple mindfulness exercises that help you tune out the judge and reprogram your thinking patterns. It helps you learn instead to move away from that and activate the part of your mind that is peaceful and joyful and creative, your birthright. I immediately bought that book on Kindle in an audio format, and I walked around Pamplona for 2 days just listening. I explored parks and churches. I sat in sunny plazas. I listened and journaled and meditated. And in essence, I reprogrammed my brain from judgment to freedom. In 2 days, I went from feeling miserable and in crisis to feeling peaceful and truly blessed. This is your Camino, said Paula in the phone very loudly. And I kept going. I spent another week on the Atlantic coast of Spain in Basque country, meditating as I watched the waves rolling in and out, and the judge's harsh voice just kept fading away. Then I crossed the Pyrenees again on a bus. I explored medieval French towns and then met up with Paula in Perpignan. In her camper van, we then camped our way down the Mediterranean coast, ending up in Barcelona, which was just magical. Now, I must say, on this trip, I saw a lot of beautiful churches, some 1,000 years old and breathtaking, but none of them prepared me for La Sagrada Familia, the Church of the Holy Family, architect Antoni Gaudi's modernist masterpiece. Unlike any other building I've ever seen, even though it was jam-packed with tourists that day, that place moved me in ways I still cannot put words to. Church just doesn't do it justice. Anyway, I returned from Spain in early March, 3 weeks earlier than I had planned, which saved me money and gave me time to work on some other important changes in my life. In addition to this mind shift I'd begun, I decided to go vegan. I developed a special repertoire of recipes that I love so I can feed myself well and easily. I went back to my lap swimming 3 miles a week, plus walking on the other days. And I also did some court-ordered community service. In February, the court case stemming from my arrest while protesting climate change finally got resolved, and I was sentenced to 28 hours. So I reached out to some volunteers helping Haitian immigrants in Lexington, and I worked in the English classes, and it was very fun and meaningful. So, yes, you can say that I quit the Camino, that I failed in my grand quest. But in the end, I accomplished all of my goals that I set for my sabbatical. I learned about myself, and I grew in confidence and competence. I reconnected with nature and my body, and I deepened my spiritual practice. And when I came back to work at church this week, I saw how much you had accomplished and grown too while I was gone. I needn't have worried so much. Maybe I needn't have worried at all. In the last 3 months, this church has continued the Next Steps process, adopted a new mission and vision, nurtured 2 new ministry teams, said goodbye to our DRE, Katie, and yet still offered a strong RE program, ran a successful pledge drive and built a draft budget for next year, among many, many other good works, and not to mention you also offered 13 Sunday worship services, all without me. Look how strong and healthy this church is. Upon reflection, it seems clear to me that I was over-functioning here, doing too much, and it caused unnecessary stress for me and for other people. Only by actually leaving, by putting things down, was I able to see this. And yeah, a few things got dropped here and there were a couple misunderstandings, but that's to be expected. Eventually, people picked these things up and figured out how to do them and did them their own way, not my over-programmed way. And both the church and I, in this time, grew in competence and confidence. I hope as we go forward that I can learn more about I want to hear more about what you learned when I was gone, that together we can come to new and better balance in our functioning. And I hope to create some new boundaries around my time to make more space in my life to take care of myself and manage my stress. All in all, David White's poem about the Camino sums up my pilgrimage better than I can. Does it speak to your journey too? The way forward was always, in the end, the way that you came, that brought you to this place. And one day you realized that what you wanted had already happened, and that you were more marvelous in your simple wish to find a way than the gilded roofs of any destination you could reach. And at the end of the road, you found just a simple reflection, a clear revelation, like a broad field of freedom that beckoned you beyond, like another life, and still the road stretching on. So may it be for you and for me, and amen. Let us close today with a song about following, when and where you are called to go. It's when the Spirit says do. It's number 1024 in the teal hymnal. Lyrics will appear here on the screen. Jenny and Tom will lead us. Thank you so much.
When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing. Oh Lord, you gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Spirit says sing, 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 Spirit says sing. You gotta do when the Spirit says go. You gotta go when the Spirit says go. When the Spirit says go, you gotta go. Oh Lord, you gotta go when the Spirit says go. 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 You gotta do when the Spirit says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do. Oh Lord, you gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please be seated. Our worship has ended. Thank you so much for joining with us today. We will have refreshments in the next room over. All are welcome to join with us. Thank you for being here, and happy Sunday.